You know that voice, right? The one that whispers, I'll just do it tomorrow. Well, what if I told you that voice has nothing to do with being lazy? We're about to dive into the real science of why your brain puts things off.
I mean, seriously, who hasn't? That massive work project, filing your taxes, or even just making a simple phone call you've been dreading. We've all been there. We push the important stuff aside for that sweet, sweet relief of doing, well, literally anything else. And this isn't just some weird personality quirk. It's a core part of being human that we're going to unpack right now.
And this, right here, is the absolute key to understanding everything. So forget all the stuff you've been told about being undisciplined or bad at managing your time. The latest research is crystal clear. Procrastination is a coping mechanism. It's all about managing your feelings, not a flaw in who you are.
And it is a huge deal. Studies show that about 20% of adults are chronic procrastinators. Think about that. That's 1 out of every 5 people who are constantly struggling with this. And it has real-world consequences on their careers, their finances, and for sure their mental health.
Okay, so let's just get this straight from the get-go, because it's the most important myth to bust. To really get a handle on procrastination, you have to understand that it has absolutely nothing to do with being lazy. It's all about what's happening on the inside.
So here's the crucial insight. We aren't actually running away from the work itself. We are desperately trying to avoid the bad feelings we've attached to the work. It's basically our brain's attempt to fix our mood right now, even if it means sacrificing our goals for later.
So, what are these negative feelings we're talking about? Well, it can be a whole cocktail of things, right? It could be a real fear of failure, or its sneaky cousin, perfectionism, that paralyzing feeling that if you can't do it perfectly, you shouldn't do it at all. Maybe it's low self-esteem, whispering that you're not good enough. Or sometimes, let's be honest, the task is just boring or frustrating, and our brain is just trying to dodge that feeling.
Okay, now let's pop the hood and get into the neuroscience. The reason this is such a struggle is because there is a literal battle, a tug of war, happening inside your skull between 2 very different and very powerful parts of your brain.
So on one side, you've got your limbic system. Just picture an impulsive toddler who wants what it wants, and it wants it now. It's all emotion, all impulse, all about immediate gratification. And on the other side, that's your prefrontal cortex. That's the adult in the room, the CEO of your brain. It's logical, it plans for the future, and it's in charge of self-control. Procrastination is what happens when that toddler has a full-on tantrum that completely drowns out the calm, rational voice of the CEO. And there's actually a scientific name for why the toddler usually wins. It's called temporal discounting. It sounds complicated, but the idea is super simple. Our brains are hardwired to value rewards that are right in front of our faces way more than rewards we have to wait for. That instant relief you get from scrolling your phone feels way more valuable in the moment than the distant satisfaction of finishing that project.
All right, to really understand this internal fight, we gotta zoom in and meet the key players. We're talking about the specific brain regions and the chemicals that are really running the show.
First up, let's talk about the amygdala. It's this tiny, almond-shaped part deep inside your brain, and its main job is to be your personal threat detector. It's constantly scanning your environment for danger. It's your alarm system.
Now here's where it gets wild. Your amygdala isn't great at telling the difference between a real physical threat, like a tiger, and an emotional one, like a scary-looking spreadsheet. When a task makes you feel anxious or full of self-doubt, your amygdala can freak out and interpret that as a genuine danger. It literally hijacks your rational brain, screaming, "Get out of here!" and you do, by procrastinating.
And get this, there's a physical link here. Neuroimaging studies have actually found that people with a larger amygdala are more prone to procrastination. Why? Well, a bigger, more active amygdala might just mean you have a louder, more sensitive internal alarm bell, making it way harder to ignore those feelings of anxiety.
Okay, on to our next major player, dopamine. You've probably heard it called the pleasure chemical, but it's much more accurate to call it the motivation molecule. Dopamine is what tells your brain, hey, that thing you just did felt good, let's remember that and do it again. It's what drives our habits.
And here's the trap. When you dodge that difficult task and instead watch a funny video or check your notifications, your brain gets a quick, easy little hit of dopamine. It feels good. So your brain learns a very simple lesson. Avoiding the hard thing and choosing the fun distraction equals reward. This creates a really powerful feedback loop that makes procrastination an incredibly tough habit to break.
So after all that, it sounds like our brains are basically wired against us, right? Well, not exactly. The amazing thing is, we can use this knowledge to hack our own brains. It's not about trying to have more willpower. It's about being smarter and using strategies that help our prefrontal cortex, the adult in the room, win that battle.
Let's start with a crazy simple but super powerful trick, the 5-minute rule. Here's the deal. You just commit to working on that dreaded task for 5 minutes. That's it. Anyone could do 5 minutes, right? It's such a small, non-threatening step that it sneaks right past your amygdala's alarm system. And the magic is, once you start, momentum often just takes over. You realize it's not so bad, and you just keep going.
Okay, next up, you have got to get specific. Vague goals like, I'll work on my essay later, are basically a recipe for failure, because later is not a real time. The trick is to create what scientists call an implementation intention, which is just a fancy way of saying a super specific plan. I mean, just look at the difference here. I'll write my essay later is a wish. It's a maybe. But I will start my essay at 10 a.m. in the library, that's a plan. You've given your brain a direct order with a time and a place, and that makes it so much harder to wiggle out of.
And this leads us to a strategy that's thousands of years old, pre-commitment. You probably know the story of Odysseus. He knew he wouldn't be able to resist the siren's deadly song, so what did he do? He made his crew tie him to the mast. He made a smart decision in the present to stop his impulsive future self from making a dumb one. We can do the same thing. We can use an app to block distracting websites or just leave our phone in another room.
So if you remember one thing from all this, let it be this. Overcoming procrastination isn't about gritting your teeth and forcing yourself to have more willpower. It's about being a better strategist. It's about understanding the battle in your brain and building systems that give your rational, future-planning self, your prefrontal cortex, a fighting chance. It's about strategy, not just brute strength.
So now you know what's really going on in your head. You know it's a battle, and that knowledge is power. The only question left is, what's the first small move you're going to make to help your future self win?